Welcome everyone, and thanks for your participation in the February leadership briefing. So I'm going to put myself on mute, and if others could follow suit until we call you in the agenda, that'd be great. So take it away, Molly, with the Executive Director's report.
Thanks, Frank. Hi, everybody. This is kind of a special edition of our monthly leadership briefing because we are recording today so that we can share out our reports and updates with the larger NSGIC community as part of the on-demand programming for the upcoming mid-year meeting. So very excited to have this extra time to share with folks. And I'm going to give a little bit of an executive director's report, not dwelling on much because folks going after me will have a lot more detail in a lot of these areas. Let's see. So let me just go ahead here and get started. A little bit of an overview of some of the things that we've been working on in January or worked on in January. Held the virtual Winter State Caucus, as well as a couple of webinars, one on the work zone data exchange standard. We kicked off the elevation derived hydrography project with a webinar, published the Next Generation 911 Best Practices Guide using the data from the 2019 Geospatial Maturity Assessment, as well as some additional interviews and talking with different states. So that is available now. Spent a lot of time in January working on the mid-year meeting, shaping that content, working with the committee. You'll hear a little bit more from Philip later this hour or so. Also working with sponsors for 2021 renewals. And I just made a note here to say thank you to sponsors. As you all, I know, can appreciate, this is another strange year. And so we are just so appreciative of our sponsors who are continuing to support us through this, continuing to look for creative solutions for working together and collaborating. And so I really just want to call that out. We also welcomed Amy Holmes in January as our new administrative assistant on the NSGIC staff. And so if you haven't had an opportunity to interact with Amy yet, you will certainly have a chance to do that. And she is really delightful, hailing from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or presently based in Myrtle Beach. We also held a staff retreat over 3 days in January, as well as recorded the latest in the GIS 101 series. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a very high-level overview into the staff operations plan, working from a lot of the work done by the board on strategic planning and strategic direction. So in the area of advocacy and influence, the NSGIC board is in the process of setting the advocacy agenda and working on that. Looking at ways to really engage all of you and other NSGIC stakeholders and members of the community through the advocacy interest group in my NSGIC. If you're not sure if you are subscribed to that interest group to get updates there, let us know if you're having trouble getting in there and joining that group or figuring out your notifications. We're happy to help. But we're looking at directing some discussion and content through that interest group in the coming year. Looking at the at federal advocacy, as we talked about last year, really fine-tuning our approach to our presence in DC, in person or virtual these days, looking at doing some kinds of Hill and or GIS Day visits, an annual roundtable event with representatives of federal agencies that we partner with or potentially would like to partner with, and cultivating those key relationships. Really also looking for opportunities to seek increased funding support for states to build and improve the SDI programs. At the state level, for advocacy, looking at engaging with state councils and state subject matter experts, utilizing the GMA, which we'll be redoing or doing the next version of the GMA this year. So looking at that to help evaluate state priorities, documenting successful efforts to fund geospatial data programs, and building a toolkit or starting to build a toolkit for state coordination advocacy. Also looking here at building meaningful strategic partnerships, promoting state level relationships, and leveraging the NSGIC representation to external organizations. And I wanted to pause here just to mention that you will be seeing, well, by the time you're viewing this recording, this will be in the past, but for folks who are live on this call, you will be seeing a message coming out in the next day or so from Frank, I believe, about the FGDC NGAC, the National Geospatial Advisory Committee, to organize NSGIC's nominations to NGAC and letters of support. So just be watching, for those who are watching live, be watching for that message coming in the next day or two. So our initiatives in 2021, we're kind of putting them in, I think, four buckets to think about. We have our bucket of funded projects, which include geo-enabled elections, 3DEP for the nation, and then this kind of tongue twister, elevation-derived hydrography for the 3D National Hydrography Data Set, slightly shortened to EDH for 3D NHD. You'll be hearing about each of those projects in just a few minutes. We are also looking at kind of our NSGIC community programming. So that includes GIO Academy, the Council of Councils, Geo Women, State Caucus, Western States Caucus could be on here, and some other kind of discussion topics and areas where we're grouping together, mainly on my NSGIC, but some of that programming is going to be coming to you as webinars and workshops and so forth. So be watching for all of those. We have a category of NSGIC products. So as I mentioned, the geospatial maturity assessment, it is time for us to do the next one. So that'll be happening this year in 2021. Also, the best practices for state GIS series that builds on the learnings coming out of the GMA. So we'll be continuing with those over the course of the next year. Also wanting to mention the emergency GIS contact list and emergency GIS resources. I think you'll hear more about those when we get to the Geospatial Preparedness Committee report. And then collaboration programming, and this is just three places where we're looking at collaboration. I think we're going to see that expand quite a bit over the course of the year, a little bit opportunistic, but also just part of the natural opening up kind of progression following the board's strategic planning and strategic direction of looking for those kind of unusual suspects and collaborations that we may not have been focusing on in the past, but may want to focus in the future as we are considering our foresight practice. And so the three I have listed here, the National Pandemic GIS Task Force, still lots and lots of work to be done there. The wayfinding data sharing that we've been working on for a little while, and then State Tribal Collaborative. So just mentioning here the conferences, of course, we have the mid-year meeting coming up very quickly, 23rd through the 25th. It will be, of course, virtual, featuring those interactive workshops on Tuesday and Thursday, and the Innovation Summit sessions on Wednesday, as well as a number of networking events and social events and some fun time and breaks. So if you have not yet registered for that, I encourage you to do so. I think we have maybe 110 registered as of this morning. So I'm still watching those numbers grow. And then our annual conference in September, will it be virtual? Will it be in person? Will it be a combination of the two? We're not sure yet. But we are certainly going to be looking for more information as the year goes on. Speaking of virtual programming beyond the conferences, there's just a list here, some of the things that I've mentioned in previous slides, but monthly happy hours, a variety of webinars, some of them based on committee work, some of them based on sponsor information, some of them based on projects. We're planning on having a virtual early summer state caucus, which will be kind of expanded. It will include time for speed networking and be more than just the what we have come to think of as the virtual state caucus session itself. Quarterly GIO Academy meetings, 2 at least state tribal collaboration meetings, quarterly member mixers, which are more networking events among members, Council of Councils convenings, a couple of those, and then as previously mentioned, a Fed Day focused on advocacy and federal partners. And then just to mention a couple of our platforms that we are continuing to work on. My NSGIC, as you all now know pretty well, which is our community hub, our discussion forums. It has become very effective as a workspace for committees and working groups, as well as discussion forums, and those are just growing richer by the day. So as I mentioned earlier, if you are not sure if you're getting the right, if you're signed up for the right My NSGIC communities, if you are getting the notifications in real time, or if you want them and you're having any trouble with My NSGIC at all, please just let a member of the staff know, and we will be sure to help you with that. That just becomes a greater and greater resource as more and more people are contributing to it. And we've had some really rich discussions recently. And then the other thing to mention here is the NSGIC Learning Link. That is our conference platform, as well as where you will find the archives of various recordings from conferences and webinars and so forth. We are also building out the Learning Link with previous content. So as we're populating that, it will become, again, a greater resource. And you can access the Learning Link as well as My NSGIC right from the homepage of nsgic.org up in the main menu. And then I finally just wanted to mention some of the learning that we will be doing as an organization in 2021. Planning now 3 to 4 virtual strategic summits. So each one of these programs will be focused on a specific area of learning at a high level, at a strategy level, with a focus on seeking insight rather than ideas. And I think that's a really great distinction, and really helps to think about who can give us those insights. So, working our respective networks to figure out who we should be talking to, who should be, in the room on those calls, those virtual summits, so that we can get the insights that we need to get us to the next level of thinking about where NSGIC is and should be going. With that, I will turn it back over to you, Frank.
Great. Thank you, Molly. Really comprehensive list there. Do we have questions or comments on that? All right, Emily, if you would like to take back over the screen sharing, we'll jump right into 3DEP for the Nation with Linda Wayne. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. And can you scroll up a little? Thank you. Just so I know what we've done this month. I'm happy to report USGS has reached out and they would like to proceed with option year 3 of our project. As most of you know, this is was a first year project with 4 option years, so a total of 5 years. So we'll be moving into what will be project year 4, but option year 3. So we're excited about that. We did have our state team meeting this month. Great discussion. We're just touching in with everybody about meeting their project year objectives. Our project year does end mid-April. So it was a good time to just touch base with people with what they intended to achieve with regards to the 3DEP acquisition. We will be having a, excuse me for just a second. All right, I know you guys understand barking dogs, but anyhow, so we will be kicking off our 3DEP gap analysis workshop. This is a workshop series we're proposing for folks to identify gaps in their all right, we'll try one more time. I'm glad this is the one that's being recorded, Molly. Great. So we've got we're going to kick off with an overview of the workshop series. Washington State will be presenting the work that they've done as an example. And that's going to be done as part of the mid-year meeting. That'll be the first day of the workshops. That'll be Tuesday from 2 to 4 p.m. And then we're going to follow up with at least 2 more workshops. The second one focusing on methods and tools for gap analysis. And the third one for, okay, now that we know where the gaps are, how do we develop acquisition strategies and plans of action? We don't know if we'll do a 4th one or not, but we'd love to do some sort of showcase of what states have done with the 3DEP gap analysis. So that may be an August workshop or possibly a presentation at NSGIC annual. So, and also we'll have to see if we actually have anything to showcase. So we'll see how that turns out. You've heard about the 3DEP Information Hub. Not quite, we're going to get that out there, an announcement soon. We're doing a little bit of work, as Molly said, to integrate and streamline with NSGIC.org and the NSGIC Learning Link. The idea here is that we want to take advantage of all the technologies that we've begun to put together and make sure we're using them in the most effective means. So there'll be a little bit of a tweaking in that area. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Linda. Questions or comments for Linda? Who's going to break the ice? My dog almost broke the ice. He was looking at the speaker, ready to chime in, but he withheld. So. All right, Addresses and Transportation Committee. I know we have Jonathan here, so take it away, Jonathan.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Sorry about that. But yeah, thanks, Frank. Just very quickly and sort of high level and to the point, you know, every other leadership briefing, we're always at that point where we are, you know, our committee meeting is the following day. So once again, that will be tomorrow, our regular bi-monthly committee meeting tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central. But probably one of the primary things since the last leadership briefing that we've been involved in was sort of making our case for the FGDC address subcommittee about the National Address Database and the fact that we believe it should track with, align with, or follow the NINA standard as opposed to the FGDC standard. A lot of reasons for that. One of the guiding principles and guiding reasons for that is that most of the contributing states have their data in the NINA standard or some form of the NINA standard, and there is a trend toward that. So it just, for us, it kind of makes sense that the national address database would, align with the data standard in use by most of its contributing partners. That is due to be up on the agenda again this coming Wednesday for the monthly FGDC subcommittee meeting. And I was exchanging some emails with Steve Lewis just a little bit ago, and he was telling me that I think he is not going to be able to be on that call, but it's his understanding that it indeed will be back on the agenda, and it being the comments that we submitted for that. And I'm going to find out some more, because it's kind of ongoing right now, but I'm going to try to find out some more. But it sounded like from my conversation with Steve that there were additional questions for NSGIC, quote unquote. So I would invite, again, anyone who's interested in that topic to please join that call on Wednesday. I don't think I've seen an official agenda from Dave Kukowski yet. I've emailed him just to see if I maybe overlooked it somewhere along the way. But again, that's coming up this coming Wednesday. The committee leadership, we are currently in the process of assisting Jamie with some review on the transportation best practices document that she is putting together. That's ongoing pretty much as we speak as well. James Meyer and I were bouncing a lot of things back and forth on that this morning in the Google Doc. And then other than that, we just have sort of our ongoing effort that we've been engaged in for a while, quite honestly, very slowly, but refreshing some of the use case documents that we have primarily for addresses. There's a lot of those that have floated around over the years, and we saw the need to kind of refresh some of those and bring those up to speed and current. With that, unless anybody has any questions, I will hand the baton back to Frank.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Questions and comments?
Yes, I had one actually. Jonathan, do you know if the subcommittee meeting will be recorded at all, or if there'll be a summary of it that those of us who can't be a part of that?
I'm not sure about the being recorded. I would have to ask one of the federal folks about that.
I'd be interested to see the results of that.
I'll find. There's some other things I want to try to find out about that meeting as well, so I can add that to my list of things to ask.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again, Jonathan. Nice work. Conference committee, Philip.
Hi, so Philip wasn't able to make it this afternoon, so I am here in his place. He just wanted to let everyone know that he's very excited about the mid-year meeting coming up in 2 short weeks. We wanted to remind everybody to register. We have a registration link here, and we will also be sending out a kind of a conference e-blast this week with some more information. The agenda is live, and you can find the agenda link there as well. And you can find it on our learning link, which is, like Molly said, where we will be hosting all of our mid-year meeting workshops, Innovation Summit. And just to note, we have chosen the keynote, which will be Gabriel Sterling from Georgia. And there's a little blurb there if you'd like to take a look at what he will be speaking on. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Any questions for Bridget? Thanks very much for filling us in, Bridget. I am looking forward to the mid-year for sure.
Me too.
All right. And we have Corporate Leadership Committee, Richard.
Hey, I'm here, and I really have no update on behalf of the committee.
All right.
Will we be, I would question, will we have some time set for a meeting at the virtual mid-year coming up?
I don't see that on the agenda, so I don't think so. Molly, it's not part of the plan, correct?
No, we're not doing any committee meetings as part of the mid-year.
Okay.
We certainly can set something up adjacent, if you'd like to do it under the umbrella of the mid-year, or try to find some time to do kind of a one-off, but we're not doing any committee meetings as part of the regular agenda.
Okay, that's good. That's good for me to know. And yeah, I'll follow up with you after this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda is elections, but this is not when I would expect to hear news about NSGIC elections. I don't think Shelby is on. We'll move right ahead to elevation derived hydro for 3G hydro database. Linda, that's just fun to say.
Yeah, fun. As most of you are aware, we had the project introductory webinar last month that went very well. You can access the webinar recording and the Q&A document at the same link there. We are going to start our monthly webinar schedule. This month, you should see an announcement later today. So Wednesday, February 17th through at 2 p.m. And this will be the third Wednesday of every month. We're going to hear about EDH activities in Mississippi and Michigan. And when you get that message, you'll have a link to the registration. We are going to have to register for each monthly webinar, so just watch your calendars and you'll see an announcement early in the month. We have the March and April webinars in development, USGS in, I think, New Jersey, and we're looking for one other speaker, Frank. We have established 2 communities at NSGIC, and these communities are open to all. They are not, even if you have an affiliate in your state, or you're an EDH person that you work closely with, we want to encourage them to participate as well, because we're trying to touch these subject matter experts. There is a general interest group if you just want to keep current about project activities and information, EDH related information. And then we have an actual working group, and these are folks we are going to be depending on to actively participate in tasks and activities. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments for Linda? I'll just give you one, Linda. We are discussing that and trying to line up the right folks. So you'll hear back from us in the next couple of days.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very good. All right, that moves us on to the Finance Committee. Mark, happy for your update.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So the Finance Committee continues to meet on a monthly basis. January, we met with 2020 ending our fiscal year. We reviewed kind of the closeout. The organization had a good finish to 2020, so things look good for the organization as we ended that year. So we're also tracking now with the new fiscal year, just keeping an eye on the budget as we track revenues for sponsorships, memberships, conference registrations, and just making sure we're tracking with, as Molly said, just kind of the ups and downs for just the unknown territory with our conferences and those types of items for this year. And then we also met with our investment consultant for a quarterly update in January, and everything looks good there. She's going to make some tweaks just based on our investment policy, and we, like I said, excuse me, continue just to meet on a monthly basis to keep tabs on everything that's going on.
All right, thanks, Mark. Questions or comments for Mark? We'll move right on to geo-enabled elections. Jamie.
Hey, Frank, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Wanted to provide an update on how things are coming along with geo-enabled elections. Probably the most significant part of the update is to share that we are accepting new pilot states and counties, not only through January, but through mid-February. We want to give people a little bit more time to think about this commitment and then make that decision. So through mid-February, so about another week to make that decision. And if you have any questions or want to chat about that, feel free to reach out to me. I did also include under that first bullet a couple of on-demand presentations that just share a little bit more about the work. One was an on-demand presentation that I did for the annual conference last year. And then the other is the GIS 101 presentation on geo-enabled elections. We will have a pilot project kickoff workshop in March. The date is to be determined. Once we have everybody that will participate, I'll send out a doodle and we'll figure out the best day for everybody. The pilot projects will run from April through September. So remember, it's a 6-month pilot. And then I wanted to encourage folks, if you haven't signed up to follow the project, please consider doing that. And the reason I say that is because we put out, gosh, I think it's about once every 3 months or thereabouts, a really great email to our list of folks that follow the project. At least I think it's great. But it's really content packed and you know, a good piece of literature. So definitely consider following the project so you can get those updates. I would also encourage you to check out the latest case study that we put out. And this one focuses on Marion County, Florida. So, you know, the big piece from this case study is use GIS. It helps with election data management and also redistricting. So good one to read at this point in time. And then we have 2 on the coattails of Marion County, a Riverside County, California case study, as well as Inyo County, California. The elections GeoSummit recordings continue to be available out on the NSGIC Learning link. I did put a link in there for everybody. And then coming soon, I'm working with all the 2020 pilot projects right now to develop a document, a resource on the their learnings from their 2020 pilot project. So this is really coming along nicely, and I'll work with our design folks to get it into a good template and make that available through the elections.nsgic.org website. And then also too, of course, we'll be sharing who those pilot projects are for 2021. That's all I have, Frank. I can take any questions if there are any.
All right, thanks, Jamie. Questions for Jamie? All right. Next on our agenda is Geo Women. I see copious notes here on activities, but I don't see Erin or Kimberly in the participants. So does anyone have an update for them?
Yeah, I can share that.
Thank you.
So for Geo Women, the Geo Women Book Club has officially launched as of December 2020. We are reading Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. We're currently in week 4 of the 7-week program. The first facilitated discussion will be this Friday, and then part 2 will be in March, on March 17th. There is a Geo Women Book Club community within my NSGIC for members who have registered for the book club. So if you have registered and you are not in the community, please let me know so I can get you in there as soon as possible. The next Geo Women Roundtable event will be on elevator pitches, and this is pending. We're working on identifying and getting a speaker committed for that. So that should be released fairly soon. We're still searching for a guest speaker. We have a couple things in progress, but if you have any recommendations, definitely feel free to submit that to Jamie, Kimberly, and Erin. The 2021 steering committee and leadership meetings are scheduled. So there's one on Tuesday, February 16th from noon to 1 Mountain Time. And the Geo Women work plan, working on finalizing it this week for submission to district staff and steering committee for review and edits and approval. That's all I got.
Great, thank you, Emily. And questions for Emily? Hearing none, we'll move on to geospatial preparedness. Daniel.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So lots of activity recently for our GP committee. The first things first, we started and kicked off the year with having a committee leadership discussion to talk about what our plans are for the next year and reviewed our charter. So some updates being made administratively there. We held our GP committee meeting last week. Had a great discussion to talk about the project initiatives, which I will be mentioning in a couple minutes here. Also, Emily talked about the status of the NSGIC emergency managers contact list. So looking forward to an update a little bit later on this year for that particular document as a great resource for our emergency management GIS folks out there. Frank did a presentation, an update on the pandemic GIS task force to make sure that we're informed on what those efforts are. And then Jason and I did a panel discussion on best practices for GIS help in the state EOC. Those of you that were on the state caucus might have remembered a discussion that was being held as far as, you know, how do you guys pull in GIS help for your state EOC? We talked a little bit about, you know, how we are organized internally within our states and how we do call upon those resources, whether it's in-state or out-of-state through the Emergency Management Assistance Compact. I believe that recording is going to be or is already posted to our GP committee. So if you're interested in hearing about what we talked about there, you can find some resources out there. Our next meeting is scheduled April 7th from noon to 1:30 p.m. The last thing that I wanted to mention to the group this morning is our Emergency Management Resources Project. This is similar in a way to how we have our EM GIS contacts list. This will be a resource for emergency management GIS staff out there. Really kind of taking a look at it from the state perspective, you get thrown into a GIS response and a lot of times you're left wondering, gosh, where do I pull in official data or authoritative data to really help paint that picture out there? So this document is intended on helping to provide some kind of resources that are available, whether it's free or paid resources, working with our vendor community to help identify key critical information that can be shared and produced as a part of emergency management response. Emily, I think you're sharing your screen, so can I have you click on the link real quick? So the project plan, I won't walk all the way through it, but I encourage everyone on this call to take a look at it. We'll plan on discussing a little bit further on the next leadership meeting in March. But basically, we talk about what the goal of this project is to provide kind of this list of various different solutions that are out there, whether it's people, services, or actual data to help them in their particular endeavors. This kind of came about as those of us that have been working response for the last couple of years have certainly noticed that there's a lot of resources out there and available, and wouldn't it be great to have kind of a single spot to where we can look to see what's available out there. One of the key elements that was discussed was, gosh, post-event imagery during disasters. We certainly realized that that is a huge asset for us as we've dealt with wildfires here in Oregon. But kind of taking a look at, you know, what is the committee really highlighting as particular sets of information or services that they would like to be able to see, kind of thrown into a singular document. You know, it's a great way for us to be able to partner with organizations and vendors to be able to pull together kind of this list of solutions out there. But really kind of the end point here is providing states with a resource that they can utilize at their level to really pull in specific information to help them in their response. So if you scroll down a little bit further there, Emily, you know, you'll see our list of objectives that we have there, specific deliverables. We're going to have to update some of these target dates of completion because, man, we can't shake the COVID bug, right? So a lot of stuff that we're dealing with there, but we're hoping to be able to finish this project by the end of this year. This will be kind of a maintained solution moving forward there. There's kind of our quick little project timeline. for development of this, but I encourage you guys all to take a look at that project plan. The link is posted in this leadership briefing Google Doc, and then we'll provide a very simple kind of PowerPoint next month at the leadership briefing, and hopefully have a good discussion about this. But with that said, that's all I have for you guys all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Who has questions? Who has the first question for Daniel or a comment?
I would just say I'm really glad to see that under development. I think that will be a great resource.
I agree. On to member resource. Karen or Tim, who would like the lead on this?
Yeah, I'll take this topic. So thank you, Frank. And for the member resources working group, hopefully everyone is aware that we had our virtual winter caucus last month on January 12th, and we had 75 people registered. So we had a lot of people there. And of course, we covered a lot of ground and had a really great convergence of ideas and topics. As far as the geospatial maturity assessment, we have now circulated 2 surveys, one internal just to state reps and one to the broader NSGIC community to get their feedback on what was good about the last GMA, you know, if it was helpful and what we can do to improve it. So we are having meetings this week with every theme team to start discussing their questions from last year and the grading metrics to determine what modifications we're going to implement this year for this year's survey. And so that is going well. Thanks to Emily for your rampant scheduling. Leland is working on a buddy system for the upcoming virtual mid-year meeting. And as we heard already, we have GIS 101 topics that are continuing to be developed, which is great. And our next routine meeting is this Thursday, the 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So join us if you want to. And that will do it for member resources. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Karen. Who has the first question for Karen or comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go right into the NGIC. I know Gar has the legislature's in session, but I think he's probably able to give us that update.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Hi, this is Gar in New Mexico, and I'm back. Not a lot to add to what I put together last month, but there's the NGA Partnership Intermediate Agreement. I put a link here if you're interested in it. Some interesting use cases there, public-private partnership stuff. And then Molly already noted to the group that the GDA report to Congress. This is what's called the phase 1. It's sort of an overview. So if you want to see what's up with that, then there's the link there, and you can have a look-see at that. It's a short report. And then also, we did have a discussion, which Frank, you can probably add to, and Molly, about the nominations to NGAC, which are still open, and it'd be good to get some state and local folks into being a participant to NGAC. So, but that's all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. We really did have a nice conversation about that, and we're really being more deliberate about making our influence count and nominating the right people, and not just spreading that so thin that it matters less or it means less, as well as a really nice strategic idea to let's get other folks involved who are maybe your reps from your local councils, maybe other folks who are part of your state team, larger team, extended team, and have those folks fill out NGAC as well. So more to come on that. You'll be hearing from me with an email in the next couple of days, like Molly mentioned. So thanks, Gar. Comments or questions for Gar? All right, hearing none. The 911 committee, Michael Feshaway is on. Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. Quick update. We had a regular full committee meeting back on January 20th, where we briefly discussed the GMA 2021 coming up and planning for that. I think we have our team meeting tomorrow afternoon. We also are kind of just in the housekeeping phase of the committee year and working on a committee update to our charter. And then the big thing that happened was Dan Ross and Joe Seawash presented to NASNA in a webinar format back on the 29th. And from what I heard, it went pretty well. So that's all I have, unless there's questions.
Questions for Michael? All right, thank you, Michael. Coalition of Geospatial Organizations is next, and I see Dan's on. Dan, do you want to take the lead on that one?
Sure, thanks. And hello, everyone. Last Friday, we held a meeting. For those of you that don't know, COGO is working on a small committee working on developing some common procurement language that all orgs can agree on. And as part of that, we're looking at the NCES model law. And additionally, I don't know if you know, folks, but ASPER's put out a paper way back in 2014 about guidelines for procurement. So not sure if all of the organizations will be able to come together and agree on something. There's definitely some differing opinions on what is needed in terms of procurement by individual organizations, but the goal is to at least try. So that's kind of where we are at. That's it for me, Frank.
All right, thanks, Dan. Questions or comments for Dan? We'll move right into Digital Coast Partnership. Back to Jamie.
Hi, everyone. Frank, you can still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think I had alluded to this in the last leadership briefing. So the Digital Coast Partnership, we had our virtual meeting the beginning of January, right after the holidays. And, you know, honestly, it was so kind of sad that we weren't able to be in person because this was coming off, you know, the heels of the Digital Coast Act passing. And so, you know, we certainly did have a celebration virtually, but was not the same as something that could have been done in person. So anyway, they put together a little, I believe it's a PDF document. So you can, I linked to it in the update there, so you can take a look at that. There was some discussion around the new Digital Coast strategic plan. And I think there's some opportunity here. So when was it? I guess late December, mid to late December of last year, we pulled together a group, a NSGIC group, to kind of delve into the ways that NSGIC and our partners could work with NOAA and the Office of Coastal Management and the Digital Coast Partnership to help implement some of the specific parts of the plan. And so we finally received a kind of more firm final version of that plan. And this group is taking a look at that to kind of, you know, tease it apart and pull it apart to see where we might, you know, make an impact on the plan. So the goal is to, as a group, kind of look at the plan and then come together and then eventually pull Mickey Schmidt and NOAA Office of Coastal Management into the conversation, you know, to figure out a way forward. And again, to help implement the specific parts of the plan that NSGIC can impact. So that's in place and moving forward. Another thing that we discussed in the partnership meeting were just all of the priorities of the different organizations that are part of the Digital Coast Partnership. So every partner was able to kind of discuss some of their priorities for 2021, specifically with a new administration. And then we did a lot of kind of Mural, which is kind of a Jamboard type of software where we all were able to put our priorities, and then we could figure out overlaps and even did some prioritization about how we can work together. So that was a really fun exercise. And then the Digital Coast website that contains products and data and information. NOAA Office of Coastal Management did an update of that. And then they also put out a report to talk about the kind of traffic that they're having on that particular website. So I went ahead and attached the report here in the leadership briefing. And then they also shared, NOAA Office of Coastal Management, an update on their fellowship program. And I know most of you are familiar with that. And they're looking at expanding potentially their fellowship program. And so they're currently, there's a group, and I volunteered to be a part of this effort to research, you know, what it looks like to expand the fellowship program and the opportunities then that would be available to the partners. So more to come on that, but they are looking on expanding their fellowship program. And then last here, there's a group within Digital Coast Partnership led by NOAA Office of Coastal Management that is going to do some research and begin to really evaluate the relationships between coastal management offices and the state emergency management offices, just to better understand if there's ways to collaborate on BRIC opportunities, which is a FEMA grant program. So I volunteered to be a part of that group as well, because I know there's several, including 3DEP within the NSGIC community that, you know, is interested to learn more about BRIC. So that's all I have for Digital Coast, Frank.
That's great. Thank you, Jamie. I have one thing to add, and that is I was asked to be on the plenary panel of the NOAA GeoTools conference, and that will air tomorrow. So we have some pre-recorded content, but you won't know it's pre-recorded. It will all just flow right into a panel discussion. So really looking forward to that, representing NSGIC and New York State on that. So that was a good opportunity. Other questions or comments? All right, thanks again, Jamie. All right, the GIS Certification Institute, Jamie. The other Jamie, Jamie Dennis.
The other Jamie. Hi. Yeah, I apologize for not having any updates in here. I don't seem to have access to this document. I had access to the December version. But anyway, so the GISCI, the updates are the fall GISP exam results were in, and 131 people passed it, which is about 60% passing rate. So that's pretty good. It's in line with what they usually have, 60%. They're also currently working on, they're going to be doing sending a survey out to folks that their GISP certification has lapsed and they did not renew it, to find out why and if there's something they can do to bring people back on board and keep them engaged or keep their GISP up to date. So if you're a person that has your GISP and it's been lapsed, you might expect that survey to come to you. And the next big thing is they've officially launched the map contest that they have every year. And this one's pretty cool. So they're really asking to help get the word out on this. The submissions are due the end of April, so April 30th. And there's actually 2 categories this time around. They've usually only done one. They're going to have one now for students. So it will be at the undergrad and graduates, college level students can submit, and then a professional category for non-students. And there's 3 prizes in both of those categories, and they're cash prizes plus fee waivers for anybody that wins. Also will get their GIS certification fees waived. If you already have a GISP, then your renewal fees will be waived if you win. So if you guys can help promote that, that would be great. There's information on the GISCI website. I guess I can put it in the chat or send it. When I get access to the document, I can put the links in there. And lastly, they did ask for an update because the GISCI Board of Directors is now fully, except for one position is still vacant, and that's the other NSGIC rep. So I'm not sure what the status is on that. They did ask me of that, and so I'm not sure if anybody Hair can address that, or maybe get with me separately and let me know what the status is on that so I can pass that on. And that's pretty much all I have right now, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Do we want to take that question from Jamie now, or should we reach back after? Your call, Molly.
Let's reach back out after this call.
Great.
Sounds
All right.
good.
And Jamie.
Thank you.
All right. Next was NDOP. I don't see Tim on unless he's missed by me. Anyone else have the update? All right. Hearing none. National Tribal GIS Information Support Center. Gar was just called away again, but his notes indicate here, this is about all he has, is that we have a meeting to finalize an agenda for a collaboration and a conference, and we're going to be doing that on Thursday. I think Karen and myself and some others will be in on that. So,
Yeah, Frank, I would just add that the meeting itself is scheduled for a week from tomorrow. And so if you're not registered, please do so.
Great, a week from tomorrow. All right. Very good. Any final comments, questions for any of our topics? That brings us right to our agenda, to the end of our agenda and the end of the hour. So with that, wish you all the happiest of end of your Monday to the others to the end. All right.
You too, and good job, everyone.
Thanks,
Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. Good meeting. Thank you.
Take care.